the guy, you picked a terrible time to run for office. Well, actually, I get accused of just having terrible timing in general. They say you join the Marine Corps, you have to go to war. You come back from that, you run for the legislature, you inherit one of the greatest crises we have. And I think that while it is very, very difficult, and it certainly isn't good if you want to be liked or if you want to be popular, I think at the end of the day, now is kind of when you have to want to be there. Because now is when difficult decisions get made. Now is when big things get debated and big things get talked about. And I look forward to being a part of that. I'll tell you the last 2 weeks and all the last few days I've been enmeshed in the water issue. It's a big issue. I'm sure we'll have a chance to talk about that. And we're on the verge of a potentially historic agreement. For 4 years, California's been talking about how to fix the water problem in California. And I think that we're on the verge of doing that. And so there are opportunities for successes. There's certainly a lot of frustration. I spoke to a group at lunch today, and I got up and I thanked them for having me. And I said, with the legislature that has an 8% approval rating, I get really excited anytime anybody invites me to come join them. Because it's a challenging time. And then I shared with them a story. I was doing an interview a few months ago, and I was asked, I was on healthcare, and was taking questions and going back and forth. We did a lot of healthcare legislation this year. And the reporter kind of caught me off guard and goes, hey, I have one extra question. And I said, oh, okay. She put the microphone on my face, and she said, public opinion polling just released today. So the California legislature has a 14% approval rating. It's gone down since then, but it was 14. And she said, as a brand new member of the legislature, someone who just got here, what does it say to you? That only 14% of Californians approve of the job of the legislature. And it had been kind of a frustrating day. I ran to try and get things done and solve problems, and I was very frustrated that day. And so I said the first thing that came to my mind, and at a moment where my staff gives me high marks for candor, I said, well, it tells me that 14% of Californians aren't paying very much attention. So who are these people? That think that we're doing a good job? And that's certainly been the case on some days. And then there's been some days where you actually feel good about what you're doing. You're able to find a solution, to get something done. We had 10 bills passed, both houses of the legislature, and signed by the governor, 10 pieces of my legislation this year. They dealt with a variety of topics we can go through later if you want. We did 3 or 4 that related to health care. We did one ensuring that people who lose their job will have access to their CalCOBRA for 9 months. We help them stay in their health insurance while they go out and find a new job. We did a bill to expedite the permitting process of clinics that open adjacent to the emergency room. We have a real problem with the emergency room overcrowding. So this will help divert and help alleviate pressure on the emergency room, which will save us all time and money. We did a bill for physician assistants. I worked with the military quite a bit. So we gave them the ability to do some new procedures, which will help deal with our workforce shortage. It will help address costs. We were very careful to protect the patient safety. We were instrumental in helping restore the Healthy Families Program. It's health insurance for about 700,000 poor children, which will keep those kids out of the emergency room, keep them in preventive care. We've tried to work in a bipartisan fashion to find agreement where we can. And a lot of times we've been successful. We did a bill for emergency preparedness for senior centers to make sure that they're able to have what they need on hand, particularly as it relates to prescription drugs in an emergency crisis. We did a fascinating bill with a good buddy of mine, Jerry Hill, a Democrat from the Bay Area. We're both on the biotech committee, or the life science committee, and we're interested in the idea of technology and innovation. And so we just took the simple concept that said, why do we mail paper statements? And so we just took CalSTRS as a test case. And so starting January of next year, if you get your statement from CalSTRS, you will get it via email, unless you opt into the mail system. It's not earth-shattering, but it is going to save, it's $2, $3, $4 million. A couple million here, a couple million there. You're talking about real money eventually. We did a number of things, and we worked very, very hard. We also, not only legislation, there were a couple others I can touch on later, but we really tried to find ways to build coalitions. And one of the biggest industries in my district is the biotech and the life science industry, and it's one of the world's largest concentrations is right here in La Jolla, University City, up through Carmel Valley. And so when we ran, we said that wanted to be a focus of ours and a priority. And for about 10 years, they've sought a tax code change. We have a corporate tax system right now that as you add jobs and facilities, the rate actually goes up. So you'll make no more money. You'll add people, you'll add property, which is what we want. We want people to add employees. Tax rate will go up. All the surrounding states had switched to a tax code where it didn't. It was based on your sales. It didn't factor in your property and your payroll. For 10 10 years, they've been trying to get it done. They had no success. I partnered with Fiona Moss, a Democrat from the Bay Area, again, who represents a lot of life science industries, and we were able to get that passed. 2 budget cycles that are in the February budget agreement. It'll go into effect in 2011, and I've already heard directly from CEOs who say this is the single biggest change for our industry in terms of adding jobs. And we had concrete examples. I mean, it wasn't a hypothetical thing. Genentech took a $250 million facility that was planned to be built in San Diego County, and when the legislature 2 years ago wouldn't adopt the change, they took it to Oregon. Intel took a $1 billion facility that was planned to be built in California. And when Arizona adopted the change and California didn't, they took it to Arizona. And there's example after example of this having an actual impact, and so we worked hard there. In that same spirit, understanding the importance of the cluster that we have with UCSD, with all the surrounding institutes, Bern, Salk, Stanford, all of these, Biocom, Connect, we worked very, very hard with UCSD. They kind of got cheated out of some bond money that they were entitled to for an engineering building. It was very important. LA took it. We went in, we fought very hard, we pushed very hard, and we were able to get about $100 million reappropriated to make sure the engineering building here at UCSD gets built. We're working on their shake table facility. I mean, we're not just doing legislation, but we're looking at ways that we can build coalitions to try and get things done and accomplish them. And so that's a second area where we try and focus. And the third one is one that's really, I think, near and dear to my heart, and then I'll open it up for questions, is we take our constituent services very, very seriously. We have a wonderful staff, Melissa and Barbara, and a lot of you know Oscar. We have a whole group of interns. And so when people call our office and they have a problem, they have a concern, they have an issue, we take it very, very seriously, and we aggressively go out and try and solve that problem and resolve it as best we can. I will tell you how I got into this. Was an interesting path. I did an internship in college, and I grew up in what I call a public service family. It wasn't a political family. My dad was a factory worker who became a cop. My mom's a social worker. She runs shelters for battered women and children. And so when I was a kid, it was a family that focused on trying to improve the lives of others. And that was what I wanted to go into. I thought maybe I'd go into law enforcement, maybe be a prosecutor, and do family law, cases like my mom had done. And then in college, I did an internship with Jim Brulte, who was a state senator. And to be honest, I did it because I thought, well, I'll get a letter for law school, maybe it'll help me out. And the first day I was there, I was phenomenally bored. I was counting paper clips, right? And it was awful. And I answered the phone, and the lady called. She was getting mistreated by the Department of Motor Vehicles. And I took down all of her information. And it made sense to me what she was saying. And so I got up, and I had my little tablet, and I went to the staff person, and I said, hey, what do I do? And they shooed me away. I was an intern. You know, and so I went to the next one. They kind of shooed me away as well. I wasn't important enough to work at the time. So I went back to the phone and said, well, I'll just call the DMV. And I picked it up and called. I said, this is Nathan Fletcher with Senator Jim Brulte's office, and we have a problem here. We need to get resolved. Hey, I was an intern. I got redirected, rerouted. I had somebody on the phone. For 6 months, nobody would call this lady back. In 15 minutes, a 19-year-old intern had solved her problem. I called her back on the phone, and she cried. And I remember thinking, hey, this is pretty cool. This is what my mom does. This is what my dad does. This is helping people. And so we take that aspect of our job very, very seriously. And so we work legislatively to build bipartisan accord where we can and actually deal with problems that confront us. We work to build coalitions, even when it doesn't need to be my name on the bill or the issue. But we work to try and figure out how we can solve problems, and we take our constituent services very, very seriously. And I can tell you that as we're going to demonstrate here in a minute, you'll never have somebody who you elect that you will agree with 100% of the time. If you want someone you agree with 100% of the time, you have to run yourself. And then when you run yourself, you find you don't always agree with yourself. Sometimes it gets so complicated. And there's upsides and downsides both ways. But I do want you to know that I take this job very seriously. And we get up early every morning, and we work very, very hard all day long to make difficult decisions and try and address the problems before us in a way that best serves the community as a whole. And so it is an honor for me to represent you in the State Assembly, and I do think it matters. At the end of the day, public office is public service, and the decisions that are made affect people's lives. And so we will continue to work through. You know, Robert Frost had a great line. He said, the best way out is through. And the only way California is going to get through this problem